At her daughter's 6th birthday party, Mara's phone buzzed with a video call from her father, who was stationed overseas with the army. The background was a gray tent, and the signal flickered slightly as his familiar voice came through. "What did little Lonnie pick out with the $500 I sent?" he asked, smiling through the screen. Mara froze, holding the phone up, so he could see her daughter laughing with friends in the backyard. "What?" she managed to ask, her voice light but uncertain. "500, Dad?" Behind her, her husband, Run, nearly dropped his coffee mug. The look on his face drained every bit of color from her world. Her father's expression shifted instantly from cheerful to confused. "The birthday money, sweetheart. I send it every month like always." Mara blinked, forcing an awkward laugh. "Dad, I think you're mixed up. You haven't sent anything. We would have thanked you." His brows furrowed, and his voice hardened. "Mixed up? Mara, I've been sending $500 every single month for 2 years for the kids, birthdays, clothes, everything you need." He disappeared from the screen for a moment and returned with a folder, holding it up to the camera. "See? Transfers every month, 24 of them. Routing number ending in 4782. Mara's throat went dry. That number, it belonged to Ren's separate account. The one he said was for work expenses. Her father kept talking, his voice beginning to tremble. "I just wanted to make sure you didn't struggle while I'm away, so the kids could have what they deserve." Mara's mind raced. She thought of the nights she skipped dinner so the children could eat, of dollar store balloons at Lonnie's last birthday, and the way she had told her daughter that homemade celebrations were extra special. Her chest tightened as reality slammed into her. "I've been sending money from my contractor pay," her father continued, his tone breaking with emotion, "so you wouldn't have to choose between groceries and school fees." Mara turned slowly toward Ren. He stood frozen, eyes wide, hands shaking as the mug tilted, spilling coffee at his feet. 2 years, she whispered, her voice trembling. 2 years, $500 every month. Her heart pounded as she did the math. $12,000. Her father's kindness had turned into their family's hidden tragedy. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "While I sold Grandma's ring for school supplies. While I drove food deliveries at night just to pay bills." She looked at Ren, disbelief twisting her expression. "You've been stealing my father's money?" The room went silent except for the faint laughter of children outside. "I was going to tell you," Ren began, his tone defensive. "Tell me what?" she snapped. "That you lied while I was breaking myself to keep us afloat?" Her father's voice came again, low and furious through the phone. "Ren, did my granddaughter eat noodles for dinner while you kept my money in your pocket?" Ren couldn't look at the screen. I have a problem," he muttered, voice shaking. Mara snatched his phone, her fingers flying across the screen. She found the deposits from Kuwait, every single one, and then withdrawals at a casino. 200, 300, 500. "You were gambling," she said in disbelief. "While our daughter wore shoes with holes." Her father's voice cracked through the speaker. "You let my daughter think I'd forgotten her," he said quietly. "You let my grandchildren think I didn't care." Mara's knees gave way, and she sat on the edge of the counter, her whole world spinning. Memories flooded back. The Christmas when she had told the kids that Santa was having a hard year, the way Lonnie cried and asked if she'd been bad. She thought she did something wrong, Mara said, tears spilling down her face. She made a list of how to be better next year, because she thought Santa didn't love her. She turned to Run, voice cracking. "You had $1,000 that month. You could have given them joy. Instead, you gambled it all away." Her father's silence on the other end was heavier than shouting. At that moment, Lonnie ran inside wearing her paper crown made of foil and cardboard. "Mommy, can we have cake now?" she asked with a bright smile. Mara forced herself to nod, brushing away tears. "Yes, sweetheart. Go get your friends." When the child disappeared, Mara looked at Ren again. "You didn't just steal money," she said quietly. "You stole their memories. You stole their connection to my father." Her father's voice returned, calm but deadly. "Mara, pack the kids' things. I'm taking emergency leave. I'll be home in 18 hours. Ren's face turned gray. Jim, please, her father added. Don't let him be there when I arrive. The call ended, and silence filled the kitchen. Ren stared at her with wild eyes, his body tense. For the first time in their marriage, Mara saw something dark in his expression, something that scared her. The laughter of children echoed from the backyard, innocent and oblivious. Mara's fingers trembled as she slipped her phone under the counter and typed 3 words to her father. Please hurry, Dad. Mara didn't dare look up as Lonnie ran back inside, asking for juice boxes. She forced a smile, her voice unnaturally bright. Sure, sweetheart, check the fridge. Her hands trembled as she passed the box to her daughter, who skipped away again without a clue of what was unfolding. When the door closed, Mara's smile faded like light behind a storm cloud. Her heart thudded in her chest as she opened her messages and typed a quick note to her neighbor, Are you home? The reply came seconds later. Yes, always. Come, anytime. Relief washed over her like air after drowning. Ren stood in the corner, eyes sharp, watching every move she made. Parents began arriving to pick up their kids, and Mara greeted each one with forced cheerfulness, her voice steady even as her pulse raced. Ren stayed in the kitchen, pretending to tidy up but never taking his eyes off her. When the last child was gone, she locked the door slowly, her fingers lingering on the latch. She knew what was coming. We need to talk, Ren said flatly, stepping closer. His tone sent a shiver down her spine. She held up her phone, pressing record, placing it openly on the counter so the red light blinked between them. Go ahead, she said quietly. Talk. Ren started pacing, his hands raking through his hair. You don't understand, Mara. I was stressed. Work's been insane. I thought I could win it back. He spoke fast, switching between guilt and blame. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I was trying to fix things. Mara stayed silent, letting the phone capture every word. His voice cracked when he said, I borrowed it, not stole it. But she saw right through him. The kids ran back in, asking about dinner, and Mara softened her tone. We're doing a special sleepover tonight, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. In Mommy's room. They cheered, excited about camping on her bed with their stuffed animals. While they gathered blankets, Ren stood in the doorway, silent and brooding. Once the kids were settled watching a movie, Mara locked the bedroom door and retreated into the bathroom. She turned on the tap to mask her voice and dialed the non-emergency police line. Her hands trembled as she explained everything to the calm voice on the other end. The hidden transfers, the gambling, the fear that her husband might not let her leave. The operator gave her a report number and promised a patrol car would pass by during the night. Writing the case number on a notepad steadied her breathing. Her phone buzzed again, a message from her father showing his flight details and arrival time. Another from her mother, mentioning she had already contacted a forensic accountant. Mara felt less alone for the first time that night. She barely slept, waking every hour to check that the door was still locked and the children were safe. Around 3 a.m., she heard noises in the garage, shuffling, then the engine of Ren's truck rumbling to life. She noted the time, wrote it down, and waited. The truck idled for 20 minutes before shutting off. Her body shook with exhaustion and fear, but she forced herself to stay alert. At sunrise, she sat by the window, writing a detailed timeline of everything, every lie, every missing dollar, every night he came home late. By morning, the children woke up cheerful, unaware of the storm brewing beneath their roof. Mara braided Lonnie's hair with trembling fingers, forcing small talk about school projects while Ren snored on the couch, surrounded by empty bottles. She photographed the scene, the mess, the beer cans, his limp hand hanging off the sofa, as quiet evidence. When her son asked softly, Mommy, is Daddy sick? She smiled weakly. Just tired, love. The words burned her tongue. After the school bus left, she drove straight to the bank. The teller, a kind woman with soft eyes, helped her open a new account in her own name. Mara transferred exactly half of the joint balance, taking screenshots of every step. She left the other half untouched. When she returned home, the house was silent. Ren's car was still parked outside, and the faint sound of snoring drifted from upstairs. She gathered the family's documents, birth certificates, insurance papers, IDs, and locked them in her car. Then she found something else that made her blood run cold. Inside his desk drawer, hidden behind old tax files, were 3 years' worth of bank statements from his separate account. Line after line showed casino withdrawals, 200, 500, even 1,000. The pattern stretched back further than her father's payments. She snapped photos of each page until her phone memory nearly filled. Just as she was about to close the drawer, her phone buzzed with alerts, multiple withdrawals from their joint account. Ren was downtown, draining what little money remained. Mara's hands shook as she called the bank.
"Freeze it," she said. "Right now."
The bank representative froze the account within minutes, but Ren had already withdrawn $400. Mara took screenshots of every alert and added them to her growing folder of evidence. That afternoon, she drove to the school and spoke to the principal in private. Her voice shook as she explained the situation: financial abuse, police report, custody concerns. The principal listened carefully and noted that only Mara could pick up the children. "We'll document it," she promised. "You're not alone." Mara thanked her, feeling tears rise for the first time that day. By the time she got home, Ren's texts started flooding in. First came the apologies. "I messed up. Please, let's talk." Then came the guilt trips. "You're overreacting. It's just money." Within an hour, they turned into threats. "If you keep this up, I'll take the kids." Mara took screenshots of every word. The whiplash between begging and rage told her everything she needed to know. This wasn't remorse. It was control. She called the legal aid office that night and booked an appointment for the next morning with a woman named Lucille Donnelly. Lucille listened quietly while Mara poured out the entire story: the gambling, the stolen money, the fear, the children. When Mara finished, Lucille leaned forward and said firmly, "You're doing the right thing. We'll file for an emergency protective order and temporary custody. But you have to stay cautious." Her calm voice was a rope in a storm. She handed Mara a checklist of what to document: texts, emails, bank statements, anything showing a pattern of abuse or deceit. Mara spent the rest of the evening writing everything down until her hand ached. That night, as she was giving the kids a bath, her father called during a layover in Germany. His voice was tired but steady. "We're almost home, sweetheart. Just hold on a little longer." She could hear her mother in the background making lists, lawyers, counselors, everything a parent could do from across the world. When the call ended, Mara leaned against the wall, crying silently as the kids splashed and laughed in the water, their innocence both comforting and unbearable. The next day crawled by. Every tick of the clock felt heavy until the doorbell finally rang at 2:15 p.m. She opened the door to see her father standing there, dusty, exhausted, but solid as ever. He dropped his duffel bag and pulled her into his arms before kneeling down to hug the kids, who ran toward him screaming, "Grandpa." For the first time in weeks, Mara felt a sense of safety. Her father's face hardened when his eyes met Ren's across the hallway. Ren froze, then disappeared into the bedroom without a word. "Go play outside," her father told the kids gently before turning back toward the kitchen. He laid out a folder of printed bank statements, wire transfers, and receipts across the table. Ren returned reluctantly, arms crossed. Her father pointed to each date with a calm that was more frightening than anger. October 15th, $500. November 3rd, another 500. December 1st, 500 more. Each time, you gambled it away. Ren muttered something about stress and addiction, but her father's voice cut through him like glass. "You stole from my grandchildren," he said. "There's no stress that excuses that." Ren's posture slumped, but he refused to leave. "It's my house too," he said, his tone defiant. Her father didn't argue. He simply picked up his phone and called the police. Within 20 minutes, 2 officers arrived and calmly explained that while they couldn't evict Ren permanently without a court order, they strongly recommended he leave for the night. Ren glared at Mara but started shoving clothes into a garbage bag, muttering about his rights. When he finally walked out the door, silence settled over the house like rain after thunder. That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She sat at the dining table with a cup of coffee, spreading every document across the surface. On one side, she wrote down each moment of struggle, the field trips Lonnie missed, the dinners she skipped. On the other side, she listed every casino withdrawal. Seeing them side by side made her stomach twist. "He was stealing while you were sacrificing," her father said quietly, refilling her cup. She nodded, unable to speak as tears streaked her face. She finally whispered, "I just want the kids to be okay." Around 3 in the morning, her mother's accountant friend called from the East Coast. She had spent the night analyzing the financial documents and confirmed the pattern went back even further, 26 payments in total, not 24. "He started taking the money before your father ever mentioned sending it," the woman said. Mara felt a cold chill crawl through her body. "He didn't just lie," she murmured. "He planned this." Her father's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure he never gets another chance." By sunrise, Mara and her father drove to the local police station with every piece of evidence neatly organized in folders. The detective on duty, a calm man named Marshall Crowe, listened carefully as Mara explained the situation. He flipped through the pages, stopping to study the transaction history and photos. "You've done most of our job for us," he said, impressed. He assigned a case number for theft by deception and told her they'd begin verifying everything with the banks. "These cases take time," he warned. "But you've got a strong start." Mara left the station feeling both lighter and terrified of what came next. 2 days later, Detective Crowe called again. His tone was honest, not comforting. "It's going to be hard to prove wire fraud since you were married at the time. Legally, that money may count as shared property." Mara felt her heart sink. "So, he gets away with it?" she asked quietly. "Not entirely," the detective replied. "The gambling records and stolen funds are evidence of financial abuse. Use that in family court. The criminal side takes time, but don't give up." His realism hurt, but it kept her focused. She thanked him and hung up, determined to protect her children no matter what. That same week, she met with Julie, a gentle school counselor recommended by the principal to help Lonnie cope with everything. Mara sat outside the office while her daughter met the counselor for the first time. The wait felt endless. When they emerged, Julie held a small drawing, a picture of Lonnie with a big X over her and the word bad scribbled underneath. Mara's throat tightened. "She thinks she's bad," Julie explained softly. "Children often blame themselves for adult problems." Tears filled Mara's eyes. "How do I fix that?" The counselor smiled sadly. "Keep reminding her this isn't her fault, that she's loved and safe. Every single day." That night, as the kids slept, Mara's phone buzzed with a message from Rern. It was long and rambling, mixing apology and manipulation. "I'll go to rehab if you drop the legal stuff. We can fix this, Mara. For the kids." She read it once and deleted it without replying. The next morning, she forwarded it to Lucille, who replied instantly, "Do not respond. He's trying to control the narrative." Mara followed every instruction. Each document, each message, became part of a shield she was building around her family. Her father spent the following days researching custody laws on his laptop while sitting at the kitchen table. "This system," he muttered, shaking his head, "it protects the wrong people." Mara looked up from folding laundry. "I just want them safe, Dad." He nodded but didn't look convinced. "He'll get visitation rights," he said bitterly. "Even after all this." Mara sighed. "I know. That's why I'm documenting everything." Together, they practiced what to do if Rin showed up, rehearsing safety steps like a fire drill. Her father installed recording apps and motion sensors, turning the small home into a fortress of calm vigilance. A week later, Lucille called with news. "I filed for temporary sole custody and exclusive use of the house," she said. "You'll get a hearing next week." Mara listened as Lucille explained the forms, 20 pages of details about income, living conditions, and Ren's actions. Filling out the section about domestic incidents made Mara realize how much she'd tolerated over the years, the anger, the blame, the silence. She wasn't weak. She'd been surviving. When she sent the forms back, She felt like she'd finally started fighting back. 3 nights later, loud pounding shook the front door. "Mara, open up. I just want to see my kids." Wren's voice slurred through the wood. The children woke up crying, clutching their blankets. Her father stood by the door, phone in hand, calling the police while Mara held the kids close. The operator stayed on the line, calm and reassuring, until sirens wailed outside. 2 officers talked to Wren on the porch, reminding him of the protective order. "Come back again," one warned, "and it's jail." He argued, shouted, then finally left. Mara collapsed on the couch as her father sat in a chair facing the door all night. The next morning, a locksmith changed every lock in the house. Her father supervised while Mara made breakfast, pretending things were normal. After lunch, they installed a video doorbell and motion lights. That afternoon, she sat the kids down and kept the talk simple. "Daddy is staying somewhere else for a while," she said gently. Lonnie frowned but nodded slowly. They practiced safety rules, not opening doors, staying close, calling for Mom if anything felt wrong. "We'll be okay, right?" Lonnie whispered. Mara kissed her forehead. "Always." 2 days later, Detective Crow called again. "We're moving forward with subpoenas," he said. "We've requested Wren's bank and casino footage." His tone grew serious. "We found records of gambling that go back 5 years." Mara felt her chest tighten. "So, he's been doing this since before my father started sending money?" "Yes," Crow confirmed. He knew exactly what he was doing. After hanging up, Mara went through a stack of unopened mail on the counter and froze. 3 letters from payday loan companies, thanking her for recent applications. Her heart sank. "Oh, God," she whispered. "He's using my name now." Mara's hands trembled as she tore open the envelopes. Each one listed a different payday loan company, each with her name, her address, and amounts totaling over $5,000. She called the numbers, her voice shaking as she explained she'd never applied for any of them. Every representative said the same thing. "The applications came from your IP address." She knew exactly whose hands were behind it. By the 3rd call, she could barely speak. When she hung up, she sat on the floor and cried, the sound raw and quiet. Her father knelt beside her, his voice soft. "We'll fix this, Mara. One piece at a time." The next morning, she spent 6 hours on the phone with credit bureaus and the police, filing reports for identity theft. Every call meant retelling the same painful story, how her husband stole from her father, then from her. The woman from experience spoke gently, walking her through freezing her credit. "You're not alone in this," she said. "It happens more than you think." Mara wasn't sure if that made her feel better or worse. She filed reports with the FTC, the local police, and each loan company. When she dropped the final envelope into the mailbox, her hands were blistered from writing. Later that week, Genevieve, a counselor from Child Services, visited the house. She sat at the table with warm eyes and no judgment, explaining how important stability was for children during chaos. "Keep their routines," she said softly. "Same bedtime, same stories. Consistency is safety for them." Mara nodded, making mental notes. That night, they still had pasta for dinner, still read Goodnight Moon, and still laughed at silly jokes before bed. The world outside was falling apart, but inside their small house, she built peace from scraps of normal. 4 days later, a man named Ellis called. He introduced himself as Wren's new addiction counselor. "He's entered an outpatient gambling program," Ellis said. "I'm just calling to establish boundaries and confirm you're maintaining distance." Mara's voice stayed calm, though her stomach churned. "Yes, no contact beyond legal matters." Ellis praised her for that. "Recovery is long. You're doing the right thing." When she hung up, she felt no relief, only exhaustion. She didn't believe in sudden redemption anymore. 2 weeks later, she sat in a courtroom for the temporary custody hearing. Wren sat across the room looking smaller, his lawyer flipping through folders. The judge's questions were short and direct. "Mr. Rayner, what happened to the $12,000? Wren stammered something about addiction. When she asked about the loans in Mara's name, his lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him with a look. After 40 tense minutes, the ruling came. Primary custody to Mara, supervised visitation for Rin every other Saturday. It wasn't total victory, but it was safety. The next morning, Mara met with a tired prosecutor at the district attorney's office. The woman explained gently that proving wire fraud would be difficult. Because you were married, she said, the court might consider the funds shared. But she assured Mara that the identity theft charges were strong and would move forward. He forged your name. That's a crime. Mara nodded, feeling both vindicated and hollow. Punishment could never restore what was lost, but at least the truth was on record now. 3 days later, her father sat her down at the kitchen table, paperwork spread before him. My leave's over. I have to go back to Kuwait, he said quietly. But I'm setting up a trust for the kids. Only you can access it. Nobody else. Mara nodded, swallowing hard. Thank you, Dad. He smiled sadly. Just promise me something. No more struggling alone. She hugged him tightly before he left, whispering, We're okay now. Her mother stayed for another week, helping her rebuild routines, color-coded schedules, meal plans, calm mornings. That Saturday, Ren's first supervised visit took place in a small center with toys and cameras everywhere. Lonnie ran to him but stopped short when she saw the staff member sitting nearby with a clipboard. Why is she here, Daddy? She asked softly. Ren smiled awkwardly. She's just helping us play. But the confusion in her little face said everything. When the visit ended, Lonnie sobbed in the car, asking why someone had to watch them. Mara held her tight, whispering, It's not your fault, baby. None of this is your fault. She cried quietly as her daughter drifted to sleep against her shoulder. Weeks passed. The letters from Ren turned into long emails full of apologies, excuses, and blame. She stopped reading them, forwarding everything to Lucille instead. One morning, she found an eviction notice on the door, another consequence of unpaid rent from months ago. The landlord agreed to a plan after her father wired the first half. That night, while the kids slept, Mara sat by the window watching the city lights. The storm had finally begun to settle. The pain was still there, but so was something new, peace. She whispered to herself, We're free now, and for the first time in 2 years, she actually believed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe.